with all of the changes that have happened, you mentioned, digital photography and film earlier. With all of those pretty monumental changes that have happened in the industry, um, how did you manage to, or did you have to pivot at all with these changes, or was your work not necessarily affected by that at all?
It was definitely affected. I think that, when we talk about digital and film, and I'll just tell you a really quick story about that, is that I have never, in the very beginning, and you see a lot of photographers do this, they give the cameras all the accolades. There's always that guy who's got all the bodies, all the lenses, and he's not that great of a photographer. I learned a great lesson in New York when I was early in my career, thought, oh, I got to have the best camera. And at that point, my work was not as developed, and I had taken a picture with a great camera and a great lens, showed it to an art director, and he was kind enough. Most people, especially today, won't tell you your work stinks if it stinks, right? But back in the day, especially in New York, they would. And I remember showing a body of work to an art director in New York, and him saying to me, it's just okay. It's not moving me. I don't feel moved when I look at the work. And I said, yeah, but I used this great camera and this lens. And he looked at me and said, I don't care what kind of camera you used. I don't even know anything about cameras. I would rather you take this picture with a shoebox. If it moves me, I'm going to hire you, because we don't, art directors for the most part and creative people on our end of the business don't know anything about cameras. All we know is we look at your work and say, I was moved. And if I'm not moved, I don't care what you use to take pictures. That was a great lesson for me. So sometimes, whether it's digital or film, at the end of the day, the picture's got to come from your head and your heart. And I only look at the camera as a device to record what's in my heart, right? What I'm feeling. It's like, it starts out with this conversation with my subject or an observation or whatever it is. And it's like, give me the camera. I just got to record this. That's all it is, right? Is obviously you want good gear and good equipment. But I think what happened with digital for me, and to answer your question, was everybody expected things at a faster pace once digital started. I remember taking 200 rolls of 120 film to the lab and having those processed in contact sheets and send the contact sheets to the client, and they pick them, and then you make prints. As soon as digital happened, everybody expected things in rapid speed, and that's how we work today. The creative process is faster than it's ever been, which I miss it being slower, because there's more collaboration, there's more discussion. Words like burning and dodging and cropping, nobody talks about that anymore. It's just, can you get the stuff to me today, right? And the whole idea of working in the darkroom, which was a great place for me, there's a calming effect. A lot of photographers will tell you when you're in the darkroom, there is a very calming, soothing effect of that yellow light and doing this work, right? Put on your favorite music and just make 30 prints. And there were days I'd be in the darkroom for 8 hours at a time, all that's gone. So.
Do you still shoot film sometimes?
I do. I only do it pretty much for myself. Is if I am doing something and I like the subject enough, or I have an idea, that I'll take it and shoot a roll of 120. For me, it's very, very hard to convince a client to pay the extra costs for film. And it's also a time thing, it's a whole time thing. And now you're on set and you've got a monitor and the client wants to see what you're doing. So I think it is a more personal project, or I'm shooting a portrait of somebody famous and we do one thing for the ad or the client, and then I notice something and say, wouldn't it be cool to just get a close-up of this person? It has nothing to do with the job, but I'll ask, hey, could I shoot a roll of film? And it might end up on my wall behind me or something, right? So it's just hard. The fastest focusing lenses now and the speed of digital, you pull an old Hasselblad out and look at it, it's like an old car. But there's something about the process. It's just so slow doing everything.
And that's the thing I love about it. I only recently got into shooting film, and again, not commercially or anything, but just for my own enjoyment, really.
The best photographers for me are the ones that did shoot a lot of film and did learn lighting, because the cameras today do anything for you. But boy, when you're in a pinch, if you understand the mechanics of photography, lighting a little bit better, what do you do when your camera breaks down? That will help you immensely. And I do a workshop every couple of years in New Mexico, and we do a day. It used to be a film day, but what we do now is we have it's a week-long workshop. We tape and cover the sensor, and you wouldn't believe what the students do once they can't see. They're literally like they lost their phone. And I try to explain to them that if you take your time and really look through the viewfinder at what you're doing and take your time, think about the exposure, do it by hand, as they say. And it's amazing how by the end of that day, half those students will come back and say, wow, I really learned a lot. I never really took the time when I was looking through the camera. I just snap, 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 snap. Come on. You can't, that's not a photographer, really. You got to be very mindful about what you're doing, I think. And again, everybody has their own path, but to your point, it's a good thing. If you're a regular photographer, get a roll of film and go and make a bunch of mistakes. Because when you do, you're going to learn a lot from those mistakes.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.